The Midnight Train to Nowhere. Chapter 1. The Wrong Platform. The Wrong Train. The biting November wind whipped around Thomas as he stood shivering on Platform 7. He clutched his worn leather briefcase tighter, the familiar weight a small comfort against the encroaching anxiety. The 9:15 to Ashworth was late. Again, he longed for the warmth of his flat, a cup of Earl Grey, and the familiar embrace of his worn armchair. Finally, a train rumbled into view, its headlights cutting through the gloom. Ashworth? Thomas called out to a figure in a guard's uniform standing near the carriage door. The guard, his face obscured by the shadows of his cap, merely nodded curtly. Relief washed over Thomas. He hoisted himself aboard, slumping into a vacant window seat. The interior was strangely antiquated, with plush velvet seats and ornate, gilded luggage racks. He vaguely recalled reading about a museum train operating on a nearby line, but dismissed the thought. He was too tired to care. As the train lurched into motion, Thomas pulled out his laptop. He had a report due first thing in the morning. He opened the document, his fingers struggling to navigate the keyboard with his numbed hands. After a few minutes, the rhythmic clatter of the train began to lull him into a drowsy state. He jerked awake with a start. The report was still on his screen, but the scenery whipping past the window was unfamiliar. Gone were the familiar suburban houses and brightly lit factories. Instead, a dense, impenetrable forest stretched endlessly into the black night. He glanced at his watch. 11:47 p.m. He must have drifted off for much longer than he thought. Ashworth? He mumbled, rising and weaving his way down the narrow aisle. The other passengers were odd. A woman in a flapper dress stared vacantly out the window, her lips moving silently. A gaunt man in a tweed suit sat stiffly, clutching a cane with a silver skull head. A young girl with pigtails braided too tightly held a tattered doll, her eyes wide and unnervingly still. None of them seemed to notice him. He found the same guard who gestured him aboard stationed near the end of the carriage. "Excuse me," Thomas began. "I believe I boarded the wrong train. I was supposed to be going to Ashworth. Where are we going?" The guard turned, his features now illuminated by a flickering overhead light. His skin was pallid, his eyes hollow and unsettlingly bright. He stared at Thomas for a long, silent moment, a hint of a sinister smile playing on his lips. "Nowhere," he finally rasped, his voice like nails on a chalkboard. "This train goes to nowhere." Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through Thomas's exhaustion. "Nowhere. That's not possible. All trains have a destination."